Do you truly believe you have time? Time is slipping away, and every second you hesitate, the opportunity to change fades further into the distance. Life is not static, it is in constant flux. Suffering, distractions, and external pressures are unavoidable. The truth is, we often convince ourselves that we have more time to fix our mistakes, more time to chase our dreams, more time to change. But the reality is far harsher. Each moment that you delay today becomes the regret of tomorrow. The career you've always wanted could falter, your health could decline, and the relationships you cherish most could fade away. This isn't just a wake-up call. This is a truth grounded in the ancient wisdom of the Buddha. Life is impermanent, constantly changing, and this is the very essence of the Buddhist teaching of Anicca, the law of impermanence. Everything you know, every moment you hold dear, can change in the blink of an eye. Your time is limited, and this is the ultimate reality. The longer you wait, the more chances slip away. The Buddha taught that the only time we have to act is now. Stop letting distractions pull you in every direction. Don't wait for the right moment, because it may never come. Focus your mind, reflect deeply, and take immediate action. Your transformation begins today, not tomorrow. Every second is a chance to change, to grow, and to live with purpose. The time to fix yourself, to break free from stagnation, and to reclaim your life is now. If you're truly serious about transforming your life, the moment has come. The path to a more meaningful existence starts today. Don't wait, because the present is all you truly have. 1. The importance of questions and self-reflection. In the stillness of the Bodhi tree, the Buddha, in his quest for understanding, asked himself the profound questions that would lead him to enlightenment. These questions were not simple or comfortable. They dug into the very heart of human existence, into the nature of suffering, attachment, and the path to liberation. This act of self-inquiry, asking deep and often uncomfortable questions, is not just a part of the Buddha's story, it's also a part of our journey. We all have moments when we hesitate to ask certain questions. Maybe it's because we're afraid of judgment, or perhaps we fear that others will see us as weak or uninformed. How many times have you stopped yourself from asking something in a meeting, in a conversation, or even in your own mind, because of the worry that it might expose your ignorance or vulnerability? This hesitation reveals much about our deeper fears, the fear of being judged, the fear of appearing less than perfect. We believe that seeking answers to our doubts might expose our flaws or shortcomings. But in reality, these very questions that we hesitate to ask are often the ones that contain the key to our growth. The Buddha did not shy away from his doubts or fears. Instead, he confronted them head-on. He didn't shy away from the uncomfortable truth about suffering, dukkha. He explored it, examined it, and from that, he found the path to liberation. Our doubts and questions can lead us down the same path, if we allow ourselves the courage to face them. Think back to a moment in your life when you held back from asking a question. Maybe you were in a group, surrounded by people who seemed more confident, more knowledgeable, or perhaps it was a personal question about yourself, a question that seemed too vulnerable to ask. You might have stayed silent, afraid to voice your uncertainty. But looking back, those unasked questions could have been the turning point for you. They might have offered you clarity, not just for yourself, but for others around you as well. When we ask the difficult questions, we often realize that others have been too afraid to ask the same things. Our hesitation to speak up can prevent us from connecting with others on a deeper level. And it can prevent us from growing. Buddhism teaches that the purpose of questioning isn't to gain external validation or approval. It's about exploring our inner world, confronting our limitations, and seeking truth, no matter how uncomfortable that truth may be. Every question we ask, no matter how small or large, is an invitation to grow, to become more aware of ourselves and the world around us. The real power of a question lies not in the answer, but in the journey it sparks. The Buddha's path to enlightenment began when he asked the most fundamental question: what is suffering? And how can it be overcome? He didn't wait for the world to provide him with an answer. He sought the answer within himself. In the same way, your journey begins when you dare to ask, "What am I avoiding?" As you walk the path of self-realization, let self-reflection become a daily practice. Take time to pause, reflect, and ask yourself, "What am I doing wrong that I know is wrong but haven't fixed yet?" These questions are not meant to be an opportunity for self-criticism or judgment. Rather, they are an opportunity to confront the truth of who you are right now. The truth may be difficult to accept, but it is only by acknowledging where we are that we can begin to move forward. This process requires humility. It requires the ability to look at ourselves honestly and without judgment. It requires the courage to acknowledge the areas in which we are stuck, in which we are holding on to unhealthy patterns or attachments. But in doing so, we begin to uncover the wisdom that leads to transformation. Through self-awareness, we allow the space for growth and change. This is the path to awakening, starting with the questions we are too afraid to ask and the answers we find within. Only when we confront the truth about who we are can we begin to realize our true potential. 2. Living authentically, the Noble Truths. Living authentically is one of the central teachings in Buddhism. But what does it really mean in our lives today? In a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, demanding that we conform to societal expectations, living authentically requires more than just courage. It demands a willingness to face uncomfortable truths about ourselves. The question is, are we truly living for ourselves? Or are we simply playing the roles that others expect us to? This is a question we must ask regularly if we are to step into a life of authenticity. The Buddha himself exemplified this journey toward authenticity. He was born into a life of luxury and privilege. Surrounded by wealth, comfort, and power, he could have easily stayed within these confines, continuing to live according to the expectations placed upon him by his family and society. But he chose a different path. He chose to leave behind everything that was familiar and comfortable in pursuit of a deeper truth. His decision to leave his royal life behind was not just a physical departure. It was a rejection of the illusion that material wealth and status could bring lasting happiness. The Buddha recognized that true fulfillment lies not in what the world expects of us, but in aligning our lives with our deeper, truer nature. This moment, where he chose to confront the truth of human suffering and explore the meaning of life, was the beginning of his path to enlightenment. For us, living authentically can feel like an equally difficult challenge. It's easy to become trapped in the expectations of others, to wear masks that hide our true feelings and desires. The pressure to fit in, to meet certain standards, and to follow a prescribed path can feel overwhelming. But as the Buddha's journey shows us, living authentically requires us to confront the uncomfortable truths within. It's not just about acting in a way that is true to ourselves, it's about facing the reality of who we are, with all of our imperfections and desires, and acknowledging what truly matters to us. This process might not be easy, and it may even bring discomfort, but it is only through this discomfort that we begin to break free from the illusions that hold us back. Ask yourself, am I living for myself? Or am I living for the approval of others? How often do we make decisions based on what others expect or desire from us? It might be in our careers, our relationships, or even in our personal goals. The constant fear of judgment or failure keeps us in a state of reaction, rather than in a space of intentional, authentic living. True authenticity requires that we shed the masks we wear to please others. It is in doing this that we begin to align with our inner values, allowing us to live a life that reflects our true self. This is where true peace begins, when we stop pretending, when we stop striving to be someone we are not, and instead allow ourselves to simply be. Embracing authenticity also means staying true to your values, even when the world around you doesn't understand or accept them. This can be one of the hardest aspects of living authentically, because it requires us to stand firm in our beliefs, even if we risk facing rejection or disapproval. The Buddha's own life was an example of this. He chose a path that was radically different from what society expected. And in doing so, he found a deeper truth. By living in alignment with his true nature, he not only freed himself but also inspired countless others to seek their own path toward enlightenment. Living authentically is not a solitary act. By embracing our true selves, we create space for others to do the same. When we shed the layers of expectation and judgment, we invite others to do the same. Authenticity becomes contagious. When you live from a place of truth, you give others permission to explore and embrace their own truths. It's not just about finding freedom for yourself, it's about creating an environment where others feel safe enough to do the same. In this way, living authentically is not only an act of self-liberation but an act of compassion. By being true to ourselves, we help others find the courage to step into their own authenticity. The more we align with our true nature, the more we allow others to see the beauty of being real, unmasked, and unafraid to live fully. Through this journey, we create a ripple effect that spreads peace, understanding, and authenticity throughout the world. 3. Discipline and self-mastery. Discipline in Buddhism is often misunderstood as rigid control or punishment. But in reality, it is the art of cultivating habits that support wisdom, understanding, and inner growth. True discipline is not about suppressing ourselves or forcing our will upon our desires. It is about transforming our habitual patterns of thinking and behavior into tools that lead us toward enlightenment. To master ourselves, we must first learn to recognize and restrain harmful desires, or klishas, which cloud our judgment and bind us to the cycle of suffering. By focusing on cultivating qualities such as mindfulness, sati, and concentration, samadhi, we begin to unlock the clarity and emotional stability needed to navigate life with peace and purpose. This disciplined approach is not about denying ourselves joy or freedom, but about refining our ability to live in a way that aligns with our deeper values. True freedom, according to Buddhist teachings, is not the absence of discipline. It is the mastery over ourselves. Think of a monk, spending years in meditation, sitting quietly and observing the constant stream of thoughts and emotions. This act of sitting in stillness, day after day, is not a punishment. It is a practice of gaining control over the mind, of learning to witness without being swept away by the tides of distraction. In this discipline, clarity arises, and with it, peace. In our daily lives, the path to self-mastery may not seem as obvious as sitting in meditation, but it is just as crucial. Small, consistent actions are the foundation of our growth. Waking up early, setting aside time to meditate, avoiding distractions, dedicating ourselves to a specific goal, these seemingly mundane practices are the building blocks of discipline. With each conscious effort to stay on track, we begin to strengthen our ability to control our impulses, desires, and emotions. It is these moments of discipline that allow us to transcend the automatic reactions of the mind and align ourselves with a higher purpose. The Buddha himself exemplified this discipline in his search for enlightenment. His path was not one of indulgence, nor was it one of harsh self-denial. Instead, it was a balance of mindful practice, intentional effort, and a deep commitment to understanding the nature of suffering. His disciplined effort allowed him to transcend the very suffering he sought to understand. Through his discipline, he found the freedom to see the world clearly, to act without attachment, and to live with a sense of inner peace that was not dependent on external circumstances. Each act of discipline brings us closer to this kind of freedom. Freedom, in this context, is not about being able to do whatever we want without consequences. True freedom is found in the mastery of our minds and actions. It is the freedom that comes when we can observe our thoughts without being controlled by them. When we can make choices that align with our deeper values rather than being driven by fleeting desires or societal pressures. The more we practice discipline, the more we create space for our true nature to shine through. Imagine for a moment how different your life could be if you directed your energy toward positive, purposeful goals. What if every small, disciplined action, whether it's focusing on a task, showing up for your responsibilities, or taking time to meditate, was a step toward deeper joy and peace? This is the power of discipline. It doesn't limit us, it frees us. Through disciplined practice, we train ourselves to live more intentionally, to act with awareness, and to respond to life's challenges with calmness and clarity. In the end, discipline is not just about following rules. It is about creating a life that is aligned with our highest potential. It is about finding the strength to rise above our impulses, to act from a place of wisdom rather than habit, and to embrace each moment with a sense of purpose. When we master ourselves through discipline, we unlock a deeper sense of peace, joy, and freedom that transcends the noise and distractions of the world. This is the path to true liberation. 4. Responsibility and meaning in life. Responsibility is not merely a concept in Buddhism. It is a deep, transformative practice that shapes how we approach every moment of our lives. It is not simply about owning up to our actions or acknowledging our mistakes. It is about understanding that every word we speak, every action we take, and every thought we entertain has the potential to ripple out into the world, affecting not just ourselves but everyone around us. The Buddha's teachings on karma are a constant reminder of this truth. Every choice we make, no matter how small it seems, creates consequences that reverberate through the universe, shaping the future in ways we might not even realize. This awareness of our interconnectedness is the foundation of responsibility. It is not enough to live passively, reacting to the world around us. When we truly take responsibility for our lives, we begin to understand that we are the architects of our own experiences. We cannot change the world around us until we change the way we interact with it. Our actions, whether positive or negative, contribute to the collective energy of the world. This understanding is empowering because it shows us that we are not helpless in the face of life's challenges. We have the power to shape our reality by how we respond to it. Taking responsibility in this way gives our lives meaning. It is easy to fall into the trap of thinking that life is happening to us, that we are at the mercy of fate or the actions of others. But in reality, we are active participants in this process. Just as the Buddha took responsibility for his own awakening, realizing that his enlightenment was not something that could be given to him by anyone else, we too must take responsibility for our own spiritual growth. Our journey to enlightenment, peace, or personal transformation begins with the recognition that we are the ones who must make the changes. No one else can walk the path for us. This idea of taking responsibility extends beyond just our own personal growth. It has a profound impact on how we interact with others and the world. Every kind act, every mindful decision, contributes not just to our own well-being but to the well-being of everyone we encounter. When we act with compassion and awareness, we are, in essence, contributing to the collective healing of the world. We often forget how much influence we have, even in the smallest interactions. A smile, a word of encouragement, or simply being present for someone in their moment of need can create a ripple effect that spreads far beyond our immediate circle. Living with responsibility is about recognizing that our actions are never isolated. We live in an interconnected world, and every choice we make is a thread woven into the fabric of existence. Just as the Buddha realized that his awakening was not an isolated event, but something that would inspire countless others to walk the path of wisdom and compassion, so too must we recognize the weight of our choices. The world around us is shaped by how we live and what we choose to bring into it. When we accept responsibility for our role in the grand tapestry of life, we align ourselves with the natural order of things. We begin to live with intention, creating a life that is not random but purposeful. Each action we take can either contribute to the chaos of the world or to its healing. By accepting responsibility, we free ourselves from the idea that we are simply victims of circumstance. Instead, we take ownership of our lives and, in doing so, we begin to shape a world that reflects the peace, love, and wisdom we seek. This is not a burden, but an opportunity. It is an opportunity to live a life of purpose, to make choices that reflect our deepest values, and to contribute to the collective well-being of all. Ultimately, responsibility is the key to living a life of significance. When we understand the impact of our actions and embrace the power we have to shape our reality, we begin to live with a sense of purpose and direction. It is through responsibility that we find meaning in our lives, not as isolated individuals, but as part of a larger, interconnected whole. Every choice we make has the potential to create a better, more compassionate world. The question is, what kind of world do we want to create? The answer lies in the responsibility we take for the choices we make today. 5. The power of writing and reading, wisdom and understanding. Writing and reading, in the context of Buddhism, are not mere intellectual exercises. They are deeply spiritual practices, integral to the journey of self-understanding and awakening. Writing, especially, serves as a powerful tool for self-reflection, a process through which we can bring clarity to our often chaotic and cluttered minds. When we write, we externalize our internal world, giving shape and form to the swirling thoughts and emotions that might otherwise remain tangled and unnoticed. Through this process, we gain insight not only into our minds but into the deeper layers of our being. It's as though the act of writing pulls the hidden truths from within, allowing us to see them clearly and face them directly. Consider for a moment the Buddha's own practice of contemplation and self-inquiry. Just as he sat in silence, observing his thoughts and emotions, writing serves as a modern practice of this same deep self-examination. By putting our thoughts onto paper, we create a tangible record of our inner world, making it easier to confront and understand the complexities of our feelings, fears, and desires. Through writing, we create a space for transformation. It's a way of organizing our minds, bringing order to the chaos within us, and ultimately allowing us to gain mastery over our mental and emotional states. But writing alone is not enough. It must be paired with reading, another essential practice in Buddhism. Reading, especially the sacred texts and teachings of the Buddha, allows us to step into the shoes of those who have walked the path before us. The Dhammapada and other Buddhist scriptures are rich with wisdom that resonates across time, offering timeless truths about the nature of suffering, dukkha, desire, tanha, and the mind. These texts act as mirrors, reflecting our own struggles and showing us the way to overcome them. They guide us in understanding the root causes of our distress and offer solutions that are not only practical but deeply transformative. When we immerse ourselves in these teachings, we begin to see the world through a clearer lens. We gain the ability to understand the true nature of our experiences, to perceive suffering not as an external force but as a result of our attachments and aversions. In studying these texts, we learn to cultivate the mindfulness, sati, that the Buddha practiced, helping us to become more present in our lives and less enslaved by the thoughts and emotions that pull us in every direction. Reading the words of the enlightened beings before us helps us to grasp the universal truths that can guide us toward peace and inner freedom. In our daily lives, the simple act of writing down our thoughts and feelings can be a profound step towards self-understanding. It doesn't require any special skill or eloquence, just the willingness to be honest with ourselves. By setting aside time each day to reflect through writing, we create space for clarity. We make room for understanding and growth, offering ourselves the opportunity to learn from our experiences and to refine our understanding of who we are. It's not about writing perfectly, it's about expressing ourselves freely, without judgment or expectation. Similarly, reading should not be seen as a passive activity. It is an invitation to engage deeply with the wisdom of those who have explored the same questions and challenges that we face today. Whether it's the teachings of the Buddha or the insights of other enlightened minds, reading allows us to tap into a vast reservoir of knowledge and perspective. It expands our awareness and helps us see beyond our immediate concerns, encouraging us to cultivate a deeper sense of empathy and wisdom. The words of the Buddha, for example, speak to the core of human suffering and its resolution, reminding us that we are not alone in our struggles. As you make reading and writing part of your daily practice, you will find that these simple acts begin to transform the way you approach life's challenges. Writing gives you the space to explore your inner world and make sense of your experiences. while reading offers you the tools and guidance to navigate the world with wisdom. Through these practices, you gain the ability to respond to life's challenges with greater ease, insight, and compassion. In essence, writing and reading are not just about accumulating knowledge, they are about transforming our understanding, deepening our wisdom, and finding the peace that comes from truly understanding the nature of our minds and the world around us. 6. Struggle as the path to growth. Buddhism teaches us that suffering, or dukkha, is an inevitable part of life. Yet, it is through our struggles and challenges that we find the most profound opportunities for growth. The idea that hardship can lead to transformation is central to Buddhist philosophy. Consider the lotus flower. It rises from the murky waters, its petals unfolding in the sunlight. In the same way, our wisdom, compassion, and understanding emerge from the mud of our struggles. Without these trials, there can be no real growth. It is through adversity that we are shaped into stronger, more resilient individuals. Every struggle we face presents an opportunity to develop not only our character but also a deeper understanding of who we are. When things go smoothly, it's easy to remain stagnant, to coast through life without questioning or reflecting on our deeper truths. But it is when life becomes difficult that we are forced to confront our limitations, to stretch beyond our comfort zones, and to evolve into something greater. Our struggles, while uncomfortable, push us to seek clarity, to cultivate patience, and to develop a stronger connection to our true selves. These moments are the breeding grounds for wisdom. Look at the life of Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. He didn't achieve enlightenment because of comfort or ease. In fact, it was through intense struggle that he found the path to liberation. The Buddha's journey was filled with sacrifices. He left behind his life of luxury, ventured into the wilderness, and endured physical and mental hardships that tested him in every way. But it was in these moments of struggle, of intense personal challenge, that his understanding of the world deepened. It was through facing his own suffering that he came to realize the nature of human existence and the path to freedom from it. He learned that true liberation doesn't come from avoiding suffering, but from fully understanding and confronting it. In the same way, the struggles we encounter in our lives are not punishments. They are, in fact, opportunities. Each one is a lesson that can shape us into more compassionate, aware, and wise individuals. When we encounter difficulty, it may be tempting to view it as a setback or as something to be avoided at all costs. But Buddhism encourages us to look at suffering with a different lens, one that sees it as a necessary part of the human condition. Rather than running away from hardship, we are invited to embrace it, to see it as a chance for growth rather than something to be feared or resisted. When you face struggles with mindfulness and perseverance, you are not only overcoming the challenge at hand, but you are also building the inner strength necessary for future obstacles. It is through the small, everyday struggles that we cultivate resilience. The Buddha's teachings emphasize the importance of responding to hardship with awareness, to face difficulties without attachment or aversion. By practicing mindfulness in the face of difficulty, we can learn to observe our emotions without being overwhelmed by them, to accept the challenge as part of our journey without allowing it to define us. Embracing struggle does not mean seeking out hardship for its own sake. It means understanding that life will bring challenges, and instead of shrinking from them, we approach them with the mindset of growth. Every difficulty becomes a lesson, an opportunity to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. When we meet challenges with an open heart, we allow ourselves to be transformed by them. The strength we build through these struggles doesn't just help us cope with future obstacles. It opens us up to a deeper level of compassion, not only for others but for ourselves as well. Ultimately, struggle is a powerful teacher. It is through our challenges that we uncover the layers of our being, that we discover new capacities for patience, courage, and love. Just as the lotus blooms in the mud, our inner potential is often revealed through the challenges we face. The more we embrace life's struggles, the more we allow ourselves to grow toward wisdom, toward compassion, toward liberation. 7. Pursue goals that foster continuous growth. The Buddhist path teaches us that life is not about reaching a fixed destination or a point of perfection. Instead, it is an ongoing journey of growth, evolution, and self-realization. When we consider the life of the Buddha, we see that his quest for wisdom did not end with his enlightenment. While he reached a profound understanding of the nature of suffering, desire, and the path to liberation, he did not stop there. He continued to deepen his wisdom, and more importantly, he shared his insights with others, guiding them toward their own enlightenment. This continuous pursuit of growth is not just a part of his story, it is a central tenet of Buddhism. Encapsulated in the concept of samma vayama, or right effort. Right effort is about making consistent, conscious efforts to develop virtues and overcome unwholesome states of mind. It is not a one-time achievement but an ongoing practice of striving to improve, to be better, and to align more closely with the true nature of life. This is not about achieving perfection, because perfection is a concept that, by nature, is unattainable. Instead, it is about continually striving for improvement, one step at a time. No matter how small, it is the process of growth that matters, not the end result. When we set goals in our lives, it's important to aim for those that foster continuous personal development rather than simply focusing on external success or material achievements. External success can bring temporary satisfaction, but it is the internal journey of growth that leads to lasting fulfillment. Whether it's pursuing deeper knowledge, cultivating compassion, or refining our ability to live mindfully, the real reward comes from the effort we put into these goals. The Buddha's life was a testament to this truth. His pursuit of wisdom was never about becoming perfect, but about constantly deepening his understanding of himself and the world. True fulfillment doesn't lie in reaching a final destination. Life, much like the Buddhist path, is fluid and ever-changing, and so our goals must be too. Rather than focusing on a singular goal or a final achievement, we should set goals that inspire continuous growth. These goals should challenge our minds and our spirits, pushing us to transcend our current limitations and explore new horizons. As you reflect on your own journey, ask yourself, what is the next step in my spiritual growth? This question is not meant to create pressure or anxiety but to serve as a gentle reminder that growth is ongoing. Life is constantly changing, and so too should our goals. Setting a goal that pushes you beyond your comfort zone, whether it's deepening your meditation practice, being more present with those around you, or cultivating patience, opens up opportunities for inner transformation. One of the most empowering aspects of setting such goals is that they are not only beneficial to us but also to those around us. When we challenge ourselves to grow spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, we begin to embody the virtues we seek to cultivate. Our wisdom, compassion, and peace radiate outward, affecting everyone we encounter. This interconnectedness is a fundamental truth in Buddhism. The better we become, the better the world around us becomes. By pursuing goals that contribute to our own personal growth, we also contribute to the collective well-being. As you set your goals, ensure they align with your values and the greater good. True fulfillment arises from living a life that is congruent with your deeper values, values like kindness, humility, wisdom, and compassion. These goals, when pursued with sincerity and mindfulness, create a life that is not only meaningful but also truly fulfilling. Remember, the path is not about reaching the end but about the journey itself. It's the daily effort, the small steps, the moments of mindfulness, and the acts of kindness that shape who we become. Set goals that inspire you to go beyond what you thought possible, that challenge you to embrace your full potential, and that help you cultivate greater wisdom, compassion, and inner peace. This is the path to a meaningful life, one that is rich with purpose, growth, and fulfillment. The teachings of Buddhism offer us profound wisdom on how to transform our lives from within. Through self-reflection, living authentically, practicing discipline, and embracing responsibility, we open the door to a life that is rich with meaning and purpose. However, all of this insight remains only potential until we take action. Time is fleeting, and every moment we hesitate is a moment that passes us by, leaving behind opportunities that may never return. The journey toward transformation begins now. It's easy to fall into the trap of waiting for the right moment. But the truth is, there is no perfect time to start. The only moment we truly have is the present. Begin today by asking yourself the difficult questions that will lead you to greater clarity. Reflect on your life and the choices you're making. Are they aligned with your true values? Are you living in a way that reflects who you truly are? Living authentically and with intention takes courage. But the rewards, inner peace, fulfillment, and connection, are beyond measure. Take responsibility for your actions, for your growth, and for your happiness. Life will always present challenges, but each one is an opportunity for growth, a chance to become the person you are meant to be. Set goals that will push you beyond your current limitations and help you grow continuously. The path of transformation is not a destination, but a continuous journey that unfolds step by step. I encourage you to reflect on where you are today and where you want to go. Take that first step, and the next, no matter how small. Each action, no matter how minor it may seem, brings you closer to the life you want to create. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If this message resonated with you, please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Let's inspire and support one another on this beautiful journey of growth. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content that can help guide you toward a more meaningful life. The transformation starts now. Take that first step.